welcome to episode 24 of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Episode 24 was I make the Gary Cahill episode?
Yes.
Yes.
Good old Gary C.
I'm sure Gary would be proud of the result today. 2-1 win. First time the club has ever hosted or hoisted the Club World Cup, making us one of 5 European teams to ever win every major trophy available. So congrats to the boys on that. It was nerve-wracking for sure, but we've had some time to digest. And Matt, how you doing since that little morning escapade?
Like you said, it was a very nervy game. I don't think anybody's going to doubt that. But yeah, all things considered, boys got the win. We're doing good tonight, so no complaints on my end. Parks, how you doing over there?
Yeah, going into a game like this, I almost prefer being the underdog, where no one really expects us to do much with it. When the pressure's on, with the game that you feel like you should win, and everyone's kind of banking on you to win. As a fan, I come in with a whole lot more pressure, and I get nervous about it. So, especially after that first half too, where it kind of felt like a little bit of a stalemate, and no one was able to break through. Getting that first goal, though, man, that helped alleviate the nerves. So. Boys pulled it out, and happy to finally get that new patch, Collins. We got the gold World Cup, Club World Cup patch coming for next year's kit, so that'll be fun to see.
Hashtag PFC patch for Collins.
Shut up and take my money. All right, so as we run through this one, there were some questions from the get-go, really. In terms of the starting lineup, you had Edward Mendy coming back from AFCON. Not that he's not a reliable keeper, but Kepa has got the hot hand, so you had questions there. Callum Hudson-Odoi, certainly a question down that left flank. No Jorginho, which I'm sure Matt was eating up. And you had Romelu Lukaku starting a second straight match after what has been a really kind of an awful couple months here. So we go through 45 minutes. I don't believe we had a shot on goal in the first half, but did manage 10 shots. Palmeiras very, very clearly looking to capitalize on our mistakes, which they had their opportunities in that first half. But Matt, how are you feeling going into halftime of this one?
Frustrated. So Collins, as you and I were watching the game together at the local establishment, it just seemed to me like there was so much space that was underutilized, and basically in the midfield. So we would, for the first 25, 30 minutes, Thiago Silva could have basically dribbled his way into the box if he wanted to. Nobody was closing out on him, So Thiago Silva was kind of playing that like Jorginho-esque role, right? And I just felt like there were so many opportunities where somebody could just drop back, go into the middle of space. They could make runs if Thiago came up a little bit. And I feel like there were so many wasted chances to actually break down a team that was clearly playing for the counter. I don't think it was a question like what they were trying to do. It was pretty obvious from the start. At that first half, I wanted somebody to pull back, open up that space, bring defenders, have them collapse, and then start working out wide to the wings, and then free up, your Kais, your Chos, your Rams, and just let things start happening. But I didn't see enough of that in the first half, so I was very frustrated from that standpoint of things. I feel like we could have done a lot better. Again, I don't get paid the millions that Tommy T does. If I did, I would probably still be on the pod, but I would have a much different perspective. But it to me, it just seemed like it was a pretty clear and obvious flaw in how we were approaching the tactics from this match.
So we get into the second half. In that first half, Cho and Ram had both put in very early candidates for get the fuck out of here award winners. both looked lackadaisical. But those are the two that link up in the 55th minute. Cho with his weak foot whips in a cross from that left side. Rom actually wins an aerial battle, and we're up 1-0. Elation. Parker, what were your thoughts on that goal? What did you see?
It was a good goal, which I hate saying. I mean, Ram scored against Al Hilal as well, which we kind of skipped that match, but happy that the boys got a win there. The Al Hilal goal just fell to Ram's feet, and I don't think anyone could have missed that one. So very classic, right place, right time kind of a goal. This one he did something for, so at least he earned it. It was a weird week for Ram just because he has cryptic, Snapchats now about being if you have to force it, it's probably not going to fit or something to that effect. And the more and more I read about it, more people said it was about other things, not soccer related. You have to assume it is when this shit's kind of going on right now. So he's a frustrating character. So the goal was great. The one thing I'll say about Ram that I actually liked was, I think it was after full time was called, he had a moment with Timo on the bench where he kind of like embraced him and he kind of gave him a little pep talk, and it seemed genuine, and it seemed to be kind of words of motivation, and it seemed like he was more involved and more into this match. But I still kind of go by and say he's looking more to pass than ever, which I don't hate, but he's almost like a pivot in that middle to just kind of get the ball in and distribute off. He's not really looking to turn and run at defenders. So that's kind of an interesting wrinkle into the whole, what's his best position for Chelsea. But I can't say a bad thing about the goal. It came at the right time. We needed it. And he got up and won the ball. So shout out to Ram.
And something that we've been harping on here is, it seems, pretty much immediately after we score a goal, or immediately after halftime, we concede. Things get dangerous. Sure as shit, happened again. This time a penalty, which initially was not a penalty until VAR came in and reviewed. And I'm sure we'll be discussing VAR in Pod After Dark because it was a big part of today's match. But Thiago Silva called for the handball in the box, I believe off the corner. Rafael Vega steps up and hits it. All of a sudden, 25 minutes to go, we're back to 1-1. I'll leave this one as kind of an open question to you guys. What did you make of the penalty?
To me, it's one of those things where in slow-mo, it looks worse than it actually was. I do think his hand was in a slightly unnatural position for somebody of his experience and his caliber. So I'm not overly surprised by it. But at the same time, if we look at the full scope of the VAR calls, there could be an argument both ways. Like, yes, they were legitimate, or yes, they were both a little bit harsh given the circumstances. But we've talked about this so long with VAR. At the end of the day, it was consistent, right? It was consistent. And the one thing I will say that I really enjoyed about it is that it was concise. It wasn't, no, let's wait for 3 minutes and then we'll go check and stop play, listen in the headset, and we'll see what happens, and maybe go check. They're like, no, go check right now. Let's get your thoughts and then go off of that. So that is the one thing that I will say that VAR did a great job of is, all right, go take a look. Here's, like, we think that there might be a shout. Go take a look. Let us know what you think, and then go from there. And that part I liked, where watching the Premier League, it takes about 5 minutes to come to a decision. So I enjoyed it. And I think the fact that both calls were consistent, no matter whether you're for or against, they were at least consistent, both sides.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It was consistent. I thought both were soft, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, Thiago made himself bigger with it, but I think his hand was propelled off the shoulder off of the attacking player. I'll take it, because we got a very similar one, as we'll get to a little bit later on in the match. Um, but man, momentum swung at that moment. All of a sudden, we had the wind taken out of our sails, and things kind of receded. Palmeiras started attacking a little bit heavier. We started losing possession a lot more frequently. Uh, it was not a good moment, and especially in the environment that we were in, Matt, at Highbury. The Palmeiras fans were loud. It was not a large place there at the Highbury. Man, it was a sinking feeling for me. But like you said, I thought it was the right call. It was a consistent call.
Imagine being there, Collins, where it seemed like I don't know if we even had a consistent like fan area, because it just seemed like the stadium in Abu Dhabi was dominated by Palmeiras fans. And that's where it really felt like they were on the front foot, because they got the goal, they got the equalizer. They have some pretty passionate fans, some pretty vocal fans there, and you could hear it. You could hear it all game, but it really came alive once they got that equalizer. So yeah, I definitely got more nervous then, where it's like, all right, it's going to be one of those kinds of games. And it was also one of those things where I didn't want to see the game go to pens. It didn't feel like we had the squad to really compete in a penalty shootout. Just didn't have that pure penalty taker. We didn't have like a Jorginho out there, and it didn't seem like it was built for us to win in pens. So happy it didn't go that route.
So the match does go to extra time. Things got a little crazy in the second half of extra time. 4 yellow cards handed out, as well as a red card in that second half of extra time. As we mentioned, there was the second penalty, which again was a VAR call. And honestly, I thought it was one of the most dark artsy things I've seen out of Dave, Captain Dave, probably ever. He's the one who begs the ref to check VAR. He's the one who takes the brunt of the abuse from the Palmeiras players, steps up and grabs the ball as if he's going to take the penalty, until Palmeiras kind of calms down. There's no more noise, and then hands the ball to Kai, absorbs all of that external pressure, just leaves it there for Kai, who slots it home. Big game Kai makes it 2-1 in the 117th minute, and again, elation. It was a fantastic moment. Matt, what was your experience with it?
I was terrified that Dave was going to take the penalty. So with all of the Chelsea fans that we were watching with, everybody had the same thing. Everybody had the same question: who's going to take it? You don't have Jorginho. I don't know if Ram would be a pen specialist to even if he was on the pitch. Timo, I was leaning more towards Ziyech. If anybody, that would have been my guess, or Christian. Those would have been my two that I would have put up there. But Dave held on to that ball for about a good 3 minutes, and I'm pretty sure everybody was holding their breath, wondering. On the flip side, you can understand he's the captain, right? He's going to make that decision. If he's going to be the one to take it, fine. He's going to have to deal with it if he doesn't convert on it. It's his last year with Chelsea. I think we're all in agreement on that. He wants to go out with a win. I get it. He wants that trophy. I get it. So I understood the reasoning why Dave would potentially want to take that. I get it. But then knowing Dave, the most team player you could ever ask for him to just do that, it seemed a little bit off that he would try and kind of take that spotlight when he's never been one to be in the spotlight. But I mean, Collins, I think you hit it right on the head. Dave's used to taking that, right? He's the captain. He's going to go talk to the official. He's going to take the brunt of that abuse. Let everybody think, like you said, it might be a little bit dark artsy. Everybody's thinking Dave's going to take it. Then he just passes off to Kai right at the last minute. And I think in the interview that Kai had after, he said he was like third on the list of people out there that was actually supposed to be taking that kick.
A third behind George and Rom, I think is what he said.
Okay. Yeah, but either way, he's third, but I mean, he's out there, sure. To me, it just seemed like Kai was at that point the right person to take that kick. I don't think the only other person I could have seen realistically would maybe been Ziyech. At the time, Christian was obviously tired, having come on for Mount early in the first half. Kai, again, he was also tired, but he's somebody that has been known to have good composure in big games. And I think this was a perfect spot for him to shine and for him to capitalize on that.
Man, big game Kai. I was kind of laughing to myself because the amount of times I've listened to Chelsea broadcasts where people bring up the fact that Kai had that winning kick against Manchester City. I mean, it's starting to get hilarious how often I hear it. And now we might have a moment that I don't know if it surpasses it. The two competitions, one supersedes the other, but at the same time, the competition in the Champions League is a lot different. So it's apples and oranges, so you can't really compare them. But still a big moment, still a big kick, a lot of pressure. He even admitted he was nervous, which I thought was kind of cute and human of him to do. He said, "Yeah, I can't lie, I was nervous. Stepping up and taking that pen. That's it ain't easy to do." So I actually thought he had a pretty nice game all around. I think he's probably our best player, like in space with his foot on the ball, like dribbling in space or dribbling sort of with wide open space ahead of him, and he's able to control it and go around and do good things with the ball and make stuff happen. So I thought he had a good game. It was good to see him back out there. This tournament has been a bit of a revitalization for him. So, but to the penalty call itself, yeah, it was definitely a soft one. The defender's arm was definitely away from his body, but not by a lot. I mean, it definitely wasn't out at a T, and it was not intentional. It seemed like he kind of twisted his body and his arm got a little bit away from, being tucked straight in, and then it kind of strikes it. So, yeah, if we didn't have the call go against us, I would have been furious if I was a Palmeiras fan to see that one kind of be given. Again, we said it before, don't need to belabor the point. It was consistent, so I'm fine with it. But holy cow, if that was the sort of the deciding factor, it would have been a pretty dicey one at that. So big game Kai, man. I love that he keeps kind of coming to play and showing up in these big moments, and there's something to be said for that. Now, can we get him consistently in the Premier League? Different story, but hey, we'll take it today.
And he almost said would have had a chance at a third goal for Chelsea in the 120th, 1-on-1. Somehow a foul not called as he's shoved down by the last defender. That one also goes to VAR, which I can't say it enough. Props to VAR today. It was well handled. It wasn't handled by an Englishman. So they eventually go back. Luan gets red carded. And we just kind of flub the free kick and let time run out. But 2-1. No longer just champions of Europe, champions of the world. We know who we are. So with that, there's a couple storylines from today that I want to touch on, boys. First is, Parker, you'd mentioned Rom. 2 goals in 2 games here in a major tournament. Is this the Rom Redemption Tour?
It very well could be. I need to see more from him, but it was definitely a pressure moment and 2 pressure moments, and he got 2 goals. And the fact that Roman Abramovich was at the final and the press stories leading up to this match was that Roman wants to win this and we better fucking win this. Then it's big games to score goals in, even if it's not against Liverpool. It's still a big game to score in nonetheless. So I think it was ballsy starting them 2 matches in a row. He wasn't my pick to be out there, but again, I got to give him props for stepping up and taking his chances, and not just the goals. I think he distributed pretty well today. I think he anchored himself and then kind of played his guys in and played people into space and played fairly well from that perspective as well.
Yeah, I think he had one of his better games. Not going to call it a great game, but he had one of his better games compared to recent form. He was doing a lot of things well. You kind of said it perfectly. Like, I think his link up play was really good, especially between him and Pulisic. Like, Pulisic got two good chances that were not off by much, especially on his weaker foot. He got two good chances, and Rom kind of laid it off perfectly. I thought his hold-up play was pretty good. Dribbling, you can take it or leave it. I kind of chalked it up to him and Cho having the same dribbling coach. It was better. That's kind of the best I can say about it. It was better. He got a big goal. He won an aerial duel against somebody who I don't even think jumped, so that's encouragement. It's sad to say it, but it is. He's got two in his last two, so can't argue that. They're stats, they're numbers. His goal against Al Hilal, scored from Chris Wondolowski range. It was as good of a finish as you could have asked for with nobody in front of you from 3 yards outside the box. But yeah, I mean, he had a good header today, and I thought he put in a better shift than what we're used to seeing out of him. So, kudos to him. But once we get back to the Premier League and start looking at that stuff, I think we're going to need to see a lot more consistency and a lot more drive out of him.
There's been just so much swirling around Rom since that interview. Parker, you touched on it with the Snapchat, which, may or may not have been about the club. I also heard maybe it's about an ex-girlfriend or something like that. But how dumb are you? Like, you know all the stuff swirling around you. What are you doing? And I'm sorry. Like, yes, he's got 2 goals in 2 matches. $100 million striker. You should have more. Like, he should have scored multiple against Al Hilal. He should have more. Honestly, I feel like Kylo Ren at the end of that one Star Wars thing where he's trying to blow up Luke Skywalker with all the walkers. And there's more, give me
Your
more.
Favorite GIF.
Yeah, that's my favorite. It's my favorite GIF. But I'll believe it when I see it with him. Yes, he looked a little bit more committed today, but as has been mentioned, he's passing too much. His dribbling is terrible. He's just now starting to win aerial duels, even though he is like physically the biggest guy on the pitch. $100 million striker. Give me goals. Win the Carabao Cup against Liverpool for me. Win some more trophies with your goal being stamped on it, and then I'll feel better about you. But he has done too much. He has torn my heart out. I'm not ready. I'm not healed yet.
This podcast is sponsored by Taylor Swift.
No, Katy Perry. Remember?
Oh my god!
All right. So, anyways, let's turn a little bit kind of related here with the lineup. Again, we talked about it. Questionable, Rom starting a second match in a row. I was calling for my guy Ziyech to be in that lineup. I was calling for him to be subbed on a little earlier. But the starting lineup is what it is. The subs were the thing that kind of got to me today. I don't know if Tuchel's still got COVID mind. Maybe I still got COVID mind. But you had Timo come on for Rom. You had Saul come on for Hudson-Odoi. Ziyech for Kovacic. Sarr for Christensen. And then
And Pulisic for
sorry,
Mount.
Pulisic for Mount. There you go. Forgot about that one. Um, I don't know how are we feeling about how we were constructed here for a major international final.
My take was that it was just different. It was not what we're used to. That said, I thought the guys that went out there did well, especially Christian. I thought Christian had his best game that he's had for Chelsea in a while. He started to feel more Christian-y, which was good. And I don't know, did you guys hear what happened with Mount? Was it tactical? Was it injury related? Did anyone hear about this?
He left the stadium in crutches,
Okay.
leg injury.
Gotcha. So, being subbed on early, kind of different scenario. No one's really, we were prepared for it mentally. I thought he did well. The only one I really didn't think do as well is Saul. I thought he kind of got lost out there. I didn't really hear his name be called much, and I didn't really see him do too much when he was out there. So, but I'm with you, Collins. The Ziyech one, I think, made the least amount of sense. He's been in form. He's been one of our most creative and dynamic attackers. Good in link-up play, great balls into the box. And I found myself in the first half saying, "Man, I wish Ziyech was on this ball, or I wish Ziyech was putting this ball into the box," because even though Mount did a decent job, I think Ziyech just adds a little bit more directness on his crosses in. So that one was probably the most eye raising for me. It was good to see him out there for. He was on. I think, did he get subbed on at the start of extra time?
Yep.
Yeah, so he still got 30 minutes out there, or close. Yeah, 30 minutes out there. So it's still a good chunk of play. But that was the one eye raiser for me. What about you, Matt?
I wasn't sure what to make of the lineup. Collins, we were going to Ivory. I brought up the lineup, and you and I were kind of going back and forth. And you asked me to read it again because you weren't sure that I said it out correctly. it to me, okay, fine, Rom up top, whatever. Havertz, sure. Mount, that I didn't like it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. I can understand Ziyech not starting. That's something I can understand. He's started in the last 5 or 6 matches, something like that. And then you've got a big game coming up. I think we have Liverpool next in the
Palace next.
Palace
in the league. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're still going up against what we would consider better opposition than probably Palmeiras. So I get it. He's played a lot though. Like, he really has. So he needs a bit of a break. Sure. Christian coming on for Mount, that one surprised me a little bit. I figured it would have been Ziyech coming on. But that being said, Christian did well. He did the things that I was kind of talking about earlier, where we needed somebody to fill in that gap in the middle of the pitch. And I think he had free reign to do a lot of that and create that space, start that link up play, start bringing defenders out. I thought he did a great job of that. When he was on the ball, he did well. He had a couple of good opportunities where he just missed. So he was very lively. I think he was very effective. And then when Ziyech came on, I mean, he did what he's been doing for the last month. He did his own thing, and he started whipping balls in and just taking defenders one-on-one and opening things up. So this to me seemed like a game that was built for Ziyech, especially against a team that is playing for the counterattack. This seemed like it was built just for him. And I'm a little bit upset that he didn't get more of a chance to make an impact, because I think that this could have been done before extra time.
I don't understand what the thing is with Ziyech. right? I mean, he's had 2 stretches now where he has been seemingly untouchable. He had that stretch, I think it was November or December, where he contributed like 4 out of our 6 goals in like a 3-week period or something like that. Must have been December because we didn't score many goals in December. Um, but he's been doing it again this month too. And yes, I understand, he's been playing a lot of matches and all that, but this is a cup final. This is a FIFA backed cup final that Roman Abramovich does not have in his trophy case. Why do you not put your best player out there? Again, with Ziyech, this happened the last time he was hot too. All of a sudden, we just didn't see him anymore. He was gone for like 3 weeks. And I remember speculating on this pod, like, oh, they must be like lining him up to sell him or something. Um, but I don't get why you just let your hottest attacking player be dropped to the bench. That's what got me. It was selecting Cho over him that I didn't get, because Mace can play either side. I think he prefers the right, but we've seen Mace play both sides. Ziyech should never play on the left side. He just shouldn't. So I guess that was the big concern for me, is why are we not putting out our most informed best 11 for a major tournament cup final? But like you guys said, he did come on for 30 minutes. He did get his time in there. But Matt, you talk about games being built for people. The way Palmeiras is playing, this game was built for Timo Werner, not for Ram. That was the other thing that kind of irritated me. Was Timo not coming on earlier? Palmeiras was just sitting back. Ram wasn't necessarily making runs. I had made a comment during the match that our backs are to goal. Everyone's back is to goal, and so it's easy for Palmeiras to play that low box, to park the bus. You need guys like Pulisic, like Timo Werner, like Kai Havertz, who are willing to run in channels. And as soon as Timo came on, that's when I thought the game started opening up. It may have been because it was towards the end of the match. Players were tired and all that, but I thought offensively we looked a lot better. We did not look as stagnant when Timo came on the pitch. So that would be my other kind of axe to grind with Tuchel's lineup selection.
Yeah, and I think for all of us, or at least Parks, I don't know how you feel about this. Cho, that seemed weird to me to start him at a left wing back in a cup final. Yeah, sure. He got the assist that gave Ram the goal. Fine. How many times did he lose possession? How many shitty balls did he put into the box? Obviously, 1 out of 30, all you're looking for is the one, but the amount of times he lost possession trying to dribble, and he didn't look effective. His defense is obviously very questionable at best. I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't start Malang Sarr at that left back position, especially when you're going to have a team that's going to sit back. That gives Rudy, time to do his thing. Sarr, yeah, he might not be the best distributor. He might not be the best going forward, but we weren't running a ton down that left side. Everything was kind of more focused towards the right. So I kind of have to question that too. And then when you bring on somebody like Saul, I don't think he played bad. I don't think he played great. He just kind of did the job that he was asked to do. Obviously seeing him a couple times up in the attack and almost leading the attack was scary to me, because I'm not going to trust Saul to put a ball away the same way I kind of question Ram at times. But he did what was asked of him in that particular moment, right? We switched over from our 3-5-3 or whatever you want to call it to a 4-3-3. And that's definitely Saul's best thing. And then Conte kind of stayed back and was the distributor, the Jorginho-esque type player, and Saul was given a little bit more freedom to go forward. So I'm not I think he played okay. Nothing to write home about. And then Sarr, he's been playing extremely well lately. So I think that to not start him was also a big question mark for me, and to start Cho, who has been relatively suspect in kind of his last few performances.
I didn't think we'd get on the topic, but I've heard both of you guys kind of bashing Saul in this match. Not so much bashing, but not so high on him. I thought Saul was a sneaky good sub. He was Tuchel fighting fire with fire. He was the dark arts magician out there. Anytime anytime we needed somebody chopped down, it was Saul. Anytime we second half of extra time, we needed to waste time, Saul did it twice. Like I thought he was the anti-Brazilian Brazilian.
He was Jorginho anytime he gets into trouble. Hit the deck.
There it is.
Well, Collins, to quote you, shitting on Rom earlier, he scores, but do more. You got to do more than just that for me to sing your praises. I'll touch quickly on Callum. I thought the decision to start him was fine, but he did not have a great game. I didn't mind the decision. I think he's a fine and capable player. He could have had his greatest match ever, but he just decided not to. So it wasn't. I didn't hate the decision. I don't question it. But Collins, while we're on the topic, we had a listener question about the Kepa Mendy, who starts there. So why don't we get into that?
Yes, we did, courtesy of Itty at 10B_12 on Twitter. And they ask, thoughts on Mendy starting over Kepa? I personally would have loved to see Kepa start over Mendy just to finish out the tournament, especially because Kepa has been doing such a great job while Mendy was away. Certainly questions can be asked about that. I mean, we put a poll up on our Twitter yesterday, and I think it came back 50-50. Who would you rather start? Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of it, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. Parker, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was 50-50 myself. My preference or my decision would have been to start Kepa, just because I know it's just one match before in the cup, but yeah, he did a good job. I think just with someone traveling back from AFCON, who just was part of a different tournament, coming in a little bit late, you give the nod to the person who was kind of there with the guys, traveling with the guys, training with the guys the whole way. Again, I know it's not like it was like a 6-month thing and then a random person shows up. I understand it. And I understand the notion of if Mendy's your number one goalie to win a match, I get that as well. But they're 1A and 1B for me right now. Yeah, obviously, the elephant in the room for me was we conceded a penalty, and Mendy did not save that penalty. And part of me thinks that Kepa might have, because Kepa's done this. He's a magician at that. That's kind of what he's known for. Mendy didn't have much to save, and I don't know if he had any saves or any big saves at that. So I don't know what you miss or lose out by starting Kepa in this one. But this one to me was 50-50. Again, it's either one's fine and both are great, and you're not really conceding anything by starting one or the other. So I get both reasons. It's more of a feel-good story to start Kepa, so I kind of wanted it to be that.
Kepa, it to me, we were all talking during the match, and we weren't sure how many substitutions were allowed, and we didn't know the whole thing, especially with the FIFA World Cup. As soon as Mount went out right away, and then we were talking at halftime about what changes we would make and all that stuff. Again, assuming that we're managers and we make millions of dollars. And we were talking, and at least Collins and I were talking at Highbury, and we're like, well, we can move this person around, but if you bring on this person, and I'm like, if we're going with 3 subs, we don't have any more room to bring on Kepa in extra time. That reason right there is why I think you start Kepa. If you know that you're in a cup final that could go into extra time and or penalties, I think you have to start Kepa, because that almost gains you an additional substitution because you don't have to make it in extra time. Premier League, fine. Start Mendy. You can end in a draw. In a cup final, when you can go to extras and pens, I think you need to start Kepa. He has a proven track record of stopping penalties. That is what he is damn good at. He has been playing great football since Mendy's been out at AFCON. I don't think he has done anything to lose his spot just by Mendy coming back. That's my biggest thing. And I think that I don't know what decisions were made or anything like that, but to me, in that kind of situation, you start Kepa.
Okay, I'll play devil's advocate here.
Oh boy.
Are you guys forgetting who the FIFA goalkeeper of the year is?
Nope, I haven't forgotten.
He's the best keeper in the world, unless you ask UEFA. Edward Mendy is champion of Europe. He's the champion of Africa. And now with this one, regardless of whether he stopped the penalty or not, he's champion of the world. And he's the world's best keeper. Yes, Kepa has played well. Yes, Kepa stops penalties. So you bring him on if you go to penalties. You sub him on. Right. Obviously, Tuchel burned through all those subs, but from what I was hearing in this tournament alone, anything that goes to penalties, you're allowed a 6th sub. So he still had the option to. Had it gone 2-2 and gone to penalties. But Edward Mendy has proven himself time and time again. And I called it back when we signed him, that he is the best, probably underrated signing that we have made. Mendy is damn good. This is Mendy's team. This is Mendy's goal. When he is back, he is there. This isn't the Chicago Bears having 8,000 quarterbacks on the roster and just being like, oh well, it's your turn. No, this is Aaron Rodgers coming back and saying, no, Kurt Benkert, this is my team.
Okay, because Rodgers and Benkert, that's a fair comparison to Kepa and Mendy. Yeah, okay.
Can I make one request? Can we stop relying on the accolades that FIFA provides? Let's just throw all that shit out the window, because we all know the Ballon d'Or is a joke.
So you don't agree with Lewandowski winning the Ballon d'Or?
He didn't. Messi did.
Or sorry, FIFA Player of the Year was Lewandowski.
About time.
So you don't agree with that?
Okay, so no, hear me out on this. So you're saying in a Club World Cup final, we are going to sit the number 3 Ballon d'Or finalist, Jorginho. That's what you're telling me. You're okay with that? Number 3 in the Ballon d'Or.
4 minutes earlier that I wanted our best 11 out there for a major competition final. So yes, Jorginho should have been out there. If we're going to go to the 4-3-3, Jorginho should have been out there. And so should the world's best goalkeeper.
I'm not arguing against Mendy. Let me make that very clear. I'm arguing the fact that, okay, fine. Jorginho was the number 3 in the Ballon d'Or, but Conte was UEFA Midfielder of the Year. I'm
not talking UEFA. I'm talking FIFA.
I'm just saying. To me, the accolades are whatever FIFA or UEFA wants to make them. Like the year when it was all Barcelona and Real Madrid, and neither one of them made it past the quarterfinals, but they were still like the team of the top 11. Yeah, I'm just saying, to me, it's whatever. I'm not arguing against Mendy. I'm not trying to shit on Jorginho. I promise. I'm just trying to make a point. To me, Mendy is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I wouldn't say he's the best goalkeeper in the world right now. I personally wouldn't. He's won plenty of trophies, sure. But so is Dave. Are we saying he's the best right back in the world? Trophies are trophies. Good. You're on a team that gets them. Outstanding. Right now, Mendy has the hardware to back it up that he is the best goalkeeper in the world. We've talked about his distribution, which is subpar. We've talked about his decision-making, which at times I trust Kepa's decision-making, at least coming off his line and trying to punch a ball away. I trust him more than I do Mendy in that scenario. I think he is, like I said, I think he's a world-class keeper. I wouldn't necessarily consider him the best in the world right now, but he is definitely a damn good keeper, and he is our number one. It's just kind of how I look at it.
I'm going to switch the topic up, Colin. I'm going to go a touch off script here. I had a thought just to kind of bring this back because we were talking about FIFA. I had a thought earlier, though, which was, when we talked about the Club World Cup back in September as something that we were going to have to contend with schedule conflicts and all this other stuff. I didn't give two shits about this competition back in September. I really didn't. I didn't really know much about it. I didn't know its importance. I didn't feel anything about it. It kind of felt like a throwaway to me. Between FIFA and the pomp and circumstance that gets put into a production level of a cup final, like we saw, between that and then hearing like what Thiago Silva had to say about it, and Thiago Silva going up to his guys and saying, "Hey, this is a really big deal in my country. Like this is a massive tournament, and we care a lot about this, and I care a lot about this, and I really want to win this. This is a big deal to me." Between those two things, I cared about this game. I cared about this tournament, and I didn't think I would. And I have to give a little bit of credit to FIFA and this tournament and the amount of pressure that gets put on it and the amount of importance that it at least made me feel. I didn't care, and now I do, and I'm really happy that we won it. I very much look back and say, like, if we wouldn't have won this, I would have been really upset, and I would have been bummed for Dave, who's won everything at Chelsea except for this, and I would have been, upset that we didn't have that patch, like you said, Colin. Even it's silly to say out loud, but that's how I was thinking about this, and I was feeling. So, props to FIFA for the production value. I thought it was well run, and it's exciting to win a final when there's the fireworks and there's the whole show and there's the whole ceremony and all of it that goes with it.
And you think about the hoops that you have to jump through to get to the tournament. Outside of being the host and maybe playing, whoever the representative from New Zealand or Oceania is probably has an easy path. But outside of those two teams, it is a grind. Just think of what Chelsea had to do to get here. They had to win the Champions League. So, go through the group stage, go through knockout rounds, win the final in a COVID year against a team that is probably better than you. And then you have to have 3 months off, sit, and then play in the Super Cup against the winner of the Europa League, which is also a tough competition, as we've seen. It is a grind. And, I've talked about this before, but back in 2012 when we lost it, it was, for me, it was devastating. That was terrible. Getting up at 3 a.m. to watch games being played in Japan and us just crapping the bed. I kind of feel like how Abramovich or Dave or somebody does, where it's the one thing we don't have. Bayern Munich has it. Manchester United has it. Liverpool has it. Why not us? Why can't we have this? Why can't we be champions of the world? And so, while I've seen a lot of City fans today say, "Oh, well, we're all, while Chelsea's out there winning a plastic cup, we're extending our lead in the league." Like, cool, you didn't win the Champions League, so fuck off, bye. Like, for me, this was a big deal tournament, and I'm relieved. I'm happy.
If any team is going to talk about plastic, it shouldn't be Man City. Let's just start with that. Second of all, I'm a little bit torn on the Club World Cup. To me, it seems like almost like the ICC, right? The tournament in the Americas where you have kind of some big name teams and you kind of play exhibition, stuff like that. Teams you wouldn't expect to see play against each other. To me, that's kind of what it felt like. I mean, we're going up against, Al Hilal, Al Ali, Monterrey, Palmeiras, like not necessarily big clubs. And I wouldn't say that they're in like the top five of like big leagues in the world. And I don't think there's an argument there. So to me, I'm a little, and this might just be me watching my first, Club World Cup, but to me, it just seems it seems almost more of a show than an actual game. I understand the patch and everything like that. Like, yeah, that's great. It's another trophy. I get that. But if you look at it comparatively, it seems like Chelsea was playing for the trophy and Palmeiras was almost playing for like a lifeline, right? Like, it seemed to me like Palmeiras almost had more invested in it, or at least their fans did. Looking at their fans' faces and, once they lost, the devastation. And Chelsea was just happy because they kind of expected to win. You're talking about champions of England or champions of Europe going up against the champions of Brazil. Right? On paper, it just seems like just kind of like an exhibition match. And I think Chelsea kind of played that way in the first half. Like it was just an exhibition. So that's just kind of how it feels to me. I'm not sure. It seems like there's more importance towards the clubs that are not part of like the top five big leagues than it does to one of the teams that's from one of the big leagues. To them, it's almost just like another game, and then you get a trophy if you win. That's just kind of my take on it. And again, that might just be me being kind of numb to it and kind of watching this for the first time. And obviously looking at it a lot more in depth than I maybe would have been in 2012 or anything like that. But that's almost kind of how it seems. Like it seems like it means more to these smaller clubs than it does to the bigger clubs.
So I've got two questions to follow up with you on that one. The first being, is that just a little bit of like European bias? Because
I think so.
Because I mean, it seems like everybody at that tournament and everybody across the world is jazzed for it, except for the European fans. It's a nice holiday.
Yeah, it seems like it's just a piece of hardware to throw in the trophy cabinet. That's really all it seems like. It doesn't seem like there's a huge drive to win it, right? You get a trophy, you get the patch, cool. Like, and that's not just me saying, like, that's almost what it feels like to them. Is like, okay, well, we won this against some team from wherever. Like, we could have possibly played a team from, Egypt or Saudi Arabia or somebody, right? Not exactly going to be like a powerhouse in terms of world football. So I think that's kind of where it loses a little bit of value. But at the same time, it is a huge benchmark for those teams to be able to go up against somebody like a Chelsea or anybody from the top five leagues and say, we can hang with you or we beat you. And then they get that patch, they get to represent that. And that means, I think, a bigger deal to them than it does to the top five leagues in the world.
So my second question is to both of you guys. Because Parker, I believe this is the first Club World Cup that you've watched with Chelsea. Does it have to do with the presentation as to why this isn't like a bigger deal tournament? You know, we're all used to the production value of basically Sky Sports via NBC. Um, Sometimes ESPN. ESPN does a great job with the FA Cup. We complain about Paramount Plus. Fox has really kind of dropped off the map in terms of soccer. And honestly, like in my mind, anything on Fox really isn't worth watching in terms of soccer. And so I know we've joked about them calling Thiago Silva Croatian and calling Palmeiras Corinthians today. Did Fox make this tournament less than what it is?
I don't know if they made it less than what it is, but the person who was calling the match for Fox Sports 2 or FS2, which was what it was on the States, didn't do it justice. Or, a couple of mishaps, like calling someone the wrong name and then kind of correcting yourself. That happens in broadcasts. Everyone does it. But it started to become a theme. I almost felt like I was becoming too negative, just thinking there's another one there, and there's another one, and there's another one. And so it just, it deters from it. And I don't know if that's, if it was just the person who's calling it, or if it's a representation of Fox making a big deal. But I didn't see a lot of like pre-match, post-match kind of breakdown or anything like that. So it was a bit disappointing. I wanted to hear like what people thought. Like I almost wanted Tim Howard's take on the penalties and some of the things, and just people kind of breaking down things like, oh well, we did have 2 penalty calls. What do we think about them? Were they equal? Were they similar degrees of offense or not? And were they both fairly called? Stuff like that. I wish we had some of that. Matt, what do you think?
I thought it represented exactly what I had just talked about. Like they had a great show at the beginning with all the fireworks and all that stuff. Cool. During halftime, they were showing MLS highlights. There was no intermission. There was no halftime report or anything like that. You get an announcer who, we're not sure at a certain point, we're not sure what game he was calling, or not even sure that he had ever called a football match before in his life. And then the other thing to remember is it's on FS2, not FS1, not Fox, FS2, which means you didn't make the main roster, you didn't make JV, you're on the freshman network. We're going to give you a try it out and see how it goes. To me, that is poor on Fox. I think that's poor on FIFA for letting Fox host that. I think that something needs to be done about that. If you want to bring more attention to world soccer, not just your powerhouse leagues, but some of the, I don't want to call them lower level, but some of the other leagues that are around the world, if you want to bring a more global fan base to what you want to watch, you need to put in the same production value. You need to give it the same attention that you would any Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga, whatever you want to throw out there. You need to give it the same attention. I think that it got as much attention as was kind of made out with how serious at least European teams make the Club World Cup out to be.
The one thing I'll say quickly, I did hear that the game was on like basic television in England. So at least they would have gotten Fox or BBC or whatever, proper, right? The one that you can get over the airwaves. So I think this is a United States problem and maybe not like a global problem. And who did it. I would love to talk to someone who watched the match in England and see what sort of mid-match, and post-match kind of commentary they got, because we got fuck all, and it kind of sucked. Especially because it does nothing for the game. It does nothing for international fandom. It does nothing to promote this tournament at all. And yeah, Collins, I think your question's super valid, because I've never watched one before. The only reason I'm watching this is because Chelsea's in it. Would I seek out FS2 if Liverpool is in it? Probably not, especially if Premier League is going on and Chelsea's playing someone else. So yeah, man, we might just not, it might not be on our radar in the same way as if you're a Palmeiras fan, or if you're an Al Hilal fan or something like that. I think it hits a little different. Matt, you made solid points, and I think we're just in a different category. Being in one of the top 5 leagues, it's just the competition we see week in and week out is a little bit higher than that. And that's nothing to, say poorly about Palmeiras. They came to play and they gave us a good run. It was a good match, but I still think we outclassed them 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it with my point of, as a fan, I feel disrespected by it being on FS2 and with them not doing any production with it. Halftime show would have been nice, but just some pregame or some postgame, something. But I mean, America is a melting pot. We know this. Chelsea, really any English team is very well supported in America. Matt, we both live on the south side of Milwaukee. I'm sure you've seen people with Monterey stuff all over, like I have. All the Mexican teams are very well supported in the U.S. And as we saw today, Matt at the bar, Palmeiras was very well supported in the U.S. I had no idea. I mean, I knew Brazilian soccer is a big thing, but I had no idea. And it's a disservice. It's bad. But it is what it is. We're the champions. It's over. We'll see you again next year.
Hopefully.
You heard it here on episode 24, the Gary Cahill episode.
That we're winning the Champions League and the Super Cup?
Yep.
Nice. Back to back.
Love it.
So on that amazing note, I think that wraps it up for today. As always, you can follow us on social media. I'm Andy at Comiskey North. We got Matt at Matus Lee. You got Parker at DJ Parkour. You can follow the pod itself at Flag Down Pod on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We do have a YouTube channel. Check out our pretty faces and our drinking habits.
And
let's say you can check out half of my face.
And Collins, the announcement, we are dabbling in a Twitch stream, and so it's still in the works. But we're trying to get a Twitch stream up and running where we record on today's Saturday. We usually record on Sunday nights, and listeners would be able to hop in chat and interact with us live, and have kind of a fun little hangout. So expect that maybe next week or maybe in the near future.
Either way, we are really looking forward to it. We love the interaction with everybody. This is 2 straight weeks we've had a listener question, which feels good. Thank you all for listening, for submitting questions. If you do ever have any questions or topics you want covered, shoot us a message at any social media. One thing we do ask is that if you do like our pod, regardless of what service you use, Spotify, Apple, or Google, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps us more than you would know. Ultimately, we like the fact that people like our nonsense, and as Parker puts it, so please share that so we can share our nonsense with more people.
Absolutely.
All right, boys. Hey. We're gonna close it out here with the full version of "We Are the Champions," courtesy of Spotify. So until next week, cheers.
Champions of the world, baby.
I'm all potted out.